Hello and welcome to Blythe Business News. For this edition, I'm joined by Tom Abraham James, who is President and Chief Executive of Pulsar Helium. Pulsar Helium listed on the Toronto Exchange and also on the OTC Exchange in North America. And we're going to be coming to why he's talking to us today in a moment. But Tom, first of all, your first time on the show, welcome. Give us a quick overview of Pulsar Helium. What do you do? Where do you do it? Very quickly. And why are you different from any other helium explorer in the sector?
Good morning, Tim. Thank you very much for having me. And yes, as the name suggests, it's all about helium. So myself and my colleagues, we've been involved in the helium industry now for quite some time, quite a technically focused company. And what we do is we go up and look for primary occurrences of helium. And primary means that it's the primary economic driver. So it's not a byproduct of another commodity. Typically for helium, that's natural gas. But for us, we have two projects. We have one in Minnesota, which is called our Topaz project. That's the flagship. That one's been drilled, and it's got a very high helium concentration there of up to 14.5%. And for helium, that's quite important because, say, with natural gas, we don't talk about concentrations and so on. So helium could be considered a bit like, say, a hard rock mineral, where the concentration is important. So 14.5% is the highest recorded in North America. So we're off to a fantastic start there. And then we have our other project, which is in Greenland, which is an earlier stage, but nevertheless, we found a primary helium occurrence there. And it's one of very few helium occurrences in Europe.
Yeah. The reason we're talking today is that Pulsar Helium is now pursuing another listing, this time on the London market, on the AIM market. Tell us why you want to do that. Tell us why it's the right time to do it.
Sure. Well, we've been listed now in Canada for just over a year. Certainly very happy there. And then in the USA with the OTC. But really, with the London, for us, it makes a great deal of sense. We're looking to grow awareness of the company. We're also, the majority of the people behind the company are British as well. And then the AIM exchange in particular, we're seeing there's a lot of industrial gas companies there. The investor appetite is certainly there in London, but also from London for early stage projects, for exploration, for doing something new, for something quite pioneering. Really, the London Exchange has got a great history of being involved in supporting such ventures. And then also the energy appetite as well. So the energy market in London, whilst helium is not a source of energy, it is quite akin to it in terms of its exploration development. So really the UK market is very mature and a logical place for us to expand.
So good news for London-based investors or UK-based investors. A new natural resources company coming to the AIM market. That should get people's interest. But let's just go back to your two main projects, Topaz in Minnesota and Tunu in Greenland. Let's go to Minnesota first. Give us a bit more detail on what's happening in Minnesota.
Certainly. So earlier this year, we went out and what we did is we drilled an appraisal well. So we came across this project a few years ago. So behind the scenes, this company's been active for a while. And it's really building up the story, the geological story about, how large could this occurrence be? But we know that it is certainly geologically, and I won't bore your audience with that, but geologically it's the right place to be. And that a discovery was made by chance. Going back a few years now, another company was drilling there for nickel, and they hit gas under high pressure. They were concerned that it was flammable. It wasn't. But two different laboratories then analyzed the gas that came out the ground and found that it had a remarkably high 10.5% helium concentration. That's really what got us interested in this. And we then were able to come in to obtain the lease position, the first mover there as well. And then really building up that story about, okay, we know that there's that high concentration gas. How big is it? So we've been working now for a while, building up the geophysics, the seismic, the gravity, and so on. And that's given us a very firm belief that this is actually quite a large system. Earlier this year in February, we went and drilled that appraisal well, which is called the Jetstream #1 well. That was successful in replicating the discovery. So we drilled only about 15 meters away from the original discovery, did all the testing equipment, and as we anticipated, the gas came up to surface in a free gas phase, no water associated with it, getting helium readings up to that 10.5%. And so really that was for a moment for us where it was a huge de-risking of the project. And so now what we're looking to do is go and really just work on, on that success. And that's now to deepen that well, to go through the entire reservoir so that it looks like that it extends for circa another 500 odd meters depth. And then we're looking at the bigger sort of more regional picture as well with additional data acquisition. And then we look at a resource update and then also economic analysis. So it's actually a very exciting time. And another reason, looking at London, and so then soon after listing in London, we've got this tremendous news flow for people to be, quite excited about.
I want to come to news flow in a moment, but let's just talk about Greenland first. So what have you got in Greenland?
Yeah, Greenland. So myself and a couple of my colleagues, we've worked in Greenland quite a lot over the years. And what we have is we've applied this geological model. Where can you find primary helium? So we're not really guided by historic results. We're guided by the geology itself. And sure enough, we went over there a couple of years ago and we found there was that primary helium system. So they're once again not associated with hydrocarbons. So what we did is this year we went out and we've conducted a seismic survey. That one is in the process of now being processed, and then later the interpretation. But that's really to say, okay, we know that the helium's there. Now it's to map up what does it look like at depth in terms of the reservoir, and then we move that one forward. But it's worth mentioning that for the moment, just because Topaz is so advanced, that's really where most of our focus is right now.
Okay. We're talking about helium a lot. It's probably worth giving the viewers and investors and potential investors a sense of why helium is important. So why is helium so important?
I like to start off with party balloons, which is what most people know about when it comes to helium. So that's roughly about 5% of the market share, and not something that we're really interested in. You could call it a bit of a waste of a very valuable product. So it's a non-replenishing resource. So once it hits our atmosphere, off it goes, it drifts off. But its applications are mostly in tech. So to make semiconductors, you need liquid helium. To make fiber optic cables, you need liquid helium. For space launch, there's that wonderful feat that was achieved by SpaceX on the weekend. For space launch, you need helium. So there's a number of applications. For magnets to superconduct, you need helium. So that's your MRI scanners. And the thing is that the production has decreased globally, and in particular in the USA. And this is really due to aging gas fields. It's also a very hard thing to transport as well. It doesn't really like going long distances, which is why for our project in the USA, it's strategically located in the world's largest market, the US. And then for Europe really doesn't produce any helium, which is where they're completely reliant on imports, which is where Tunu is important as well. So it's the commodity that nobody knew that we're really reliant on.
Okay. What can we expect in terms of news flow post-listing? What should we be looking out for?
Yeah, as you've rightly picked up, the momentum's building. There's more and more news coming out about it. So with any luck, it's not too much more of a wait for anybody. But the process has gone remarkably well. In terms of news flow, we've already announced to the market a couple of things recently. So we increased our land position in Topaz, which is great. So we really a significant uptick, almost 50% increase to our land position. We've also contracted the drill rig. So soon after listing, we're going out and then we'll be doing the deepening of the jet stream well, that additional 500 meters of reservoir that we want to drill through. So that's in place. We're fully permitted for that as well. And then after the well, we'll then be, actually during the well, we'll be announcing the results as we obtain them. Then after that, we'll be doing the pressure tests, the flow tests upon completion of the well. And then afterwards, we'll be feeding that data in to update the resource model, and then to put out an economic assessment as well. So really, from the get-go, we're really then getting straight into the action. So very exciting.
Well, Tom, thank you for that. Come back and keep us updated. Good luck with the listing, and I'm hoping we'll see you a lot more in the future. That was Tom Abraham James, President and Chief Executive of Pulsar Helium, giving us a very good overview of the company's assets in Minnesota and in Greenland, and giving us a sense of the exciting stuff going to come out of that company post-flotation. That's it for this edition of Blythe Ray Business News. Thanks for watching.